Radio. Rahim with Jamal Herring. We're here at a big card, man. And one of the main things that I think a guy like you has to acknowledge is that, you're one of these fighters that isn't supposed to win.
Right.
uh, you're getting these titles, beating Carl Frampton. I want to take you back to that moment and talk to me about knowing going into that fight that you're supposed to be the guy that's in the L column,
right,
so that Carl can reestablish himself as that championship level,
right,
and continue on to big fights, and then having your hand raised at the end.
I mean, I'm used to that role now. It doesn't bother me. If anything, it gives me more motivation. So and it makes me work harder in the gym. It's like one of those things when you're expected to do everything. Sometimes you kind of like slack and lay off because you're expected to win, or people expect you to be dominant. But like when people basically kind of like look down on me at times, instead of like making me, it doesn't get me upset. It just motivates me, and I go to the gym every day and I just work my ass off.
You're in the gym every day with Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
Someone that is expected to win the fight that we just talked about. How do you see his preparation for a moment like this, and is that expectation warranted?
Yeah, it's warranted because of all the things he's accomplished in his past. And like I said, I think that actually added more pressure at times even for him, because now he finally has that big marquee fight that not only he's been asking for, but the people in general been asking for. So people are actually expecting him to put on a great performance, but at the same time, Sean Porter has never been a walk in the park for anybody. Sean Porter, he brings it. Sean is somebody I've known for over a decade, and every time he's had his back against the wall, he's always come out and, he's probably even win or lose, put out the best performance of his career up until that time. So I expect a real grueling fight between both of them. But I mean, of course, I want to edge it up. I'm going to give the edge to Bud, but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for any one of them.
And not only are you in the ring with this guy, in the gym with Crawford, but the way you just described his upcoming fight, same could be said for you.
Yes.
Fortunately, you didn't have to wait so long as champion to have that kind of fight that's supposed to be the one that defines you as a champion. But again, a lot of people quietly think and say, well, this is Shakur's moment. This is the time for him to become champion. And they expect you to be in that L column again.
Right.
Why are they wrong this time again?
It's just like I said, it's all about the mindset. I feel like this. I always tell people, you write your story at the end of the day. You don't really go off what most people will say. You determine your own path. And there's nothing against Shakur. Like I said, I think Shakur is one of the a bright future star that can do great things in the sport of boxing. I never defer from that. I just still believe that it's still my moment. You know what I mean? He's young, and I believe he still has time for his time to come, but it's still my moment. But it doesn't bother me. Again, it's one of those things where it just motivates me, and I just go out there and all I can do is just put on the best performance of my abilities. But at the same time, I think that puts a lot of added pressure on him, because remember, they looking at him to be the next, Floyd, the next Pernell Whitaker, and the list goes on. The Sugar Ray Leonard's out there. So that's a tall order to live up to. But for me, I'm just that guy who just be, just chugging along and just quietly taking, slipping the rug from under everyone, under their feet, and just winning big. So it doesn't put any added pressure on me. Or if anything, it's a greater victory, because it's like, man, he shocked the world again. Instead of one of those things where, like, when you're expected to win, what people do out there afterwards? Well, we expected him to get that victory. But for me, it's like, man, Jamel actually went out there and did his thing, and look where he's at now.
In the ring, is any of that able to be turned to your advantage mentally? Like, any fighter will tell me that the game is at least 80% mental. Yes. Knowing that pressure is on him, and knowing that you have more experience in the ring, you've been doing this longer, where do your advantages come?
I think usually when that bell rings, I just get tunnel vision, and my advantage actually comes from the great team that I have in my corner, because if I don't see something, they help me make those adjustments, because they'll pick it out. They'll spot it out before I may spot it out, and then we'll go off of that. Because like I said, ever since I started working with Brian McIntyre, Red Spikes, Isao Dieguez, I've been on a great roll, and it seems like we get better in terms of chemistry with every fight. So I think that's where most of my my motivation and my will to continue to go on comes from a great team. And like you said, and like you mentioned, I have a great guy like Terrence Crawford behind me as well. So all those guys play a huge role, and that's what keeps me going.
The fact that you have more experience than Shakur, that you've already won that big fight that you weren't supposed to win,
right,
that you've already been crowned champion, and yet are considered an underdog. Do you feel there's disrespect in that?
No, not at all, not at all. I think to me, that's people's opinion. It's just opinion. Unless it's a proven fact after the final bell. Right now, it's just opinion. I mean, look at guys that I admire like Winky Wright. Winky Wright, he didn't get his foot in the door until he fought the great Shane Mosley, and even then, he still had to continue proving why he was a great champion. And look how his career turned out. He's a Hall of Famer. So I don't really worry about the now. I just would rather say I'll let my career play out when it's all said and done, and people can look back on it and be like, we know Jamel, well, he fought this guy and that guy, and he beat these guys. So I don't really care what people how people think about how fights are now, but because like I said, it's up to me to go out there and still put on a great performance and go out there and win.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you do go out there and win in the fashion like you describe, a great performance especially, well, this little bit of comfort that you have going into these fights as underdog is going to go away pretty quick. They're going to start expecting you to do that every time out.
Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. That's a good point. But even then, like I say, with a great performance here, a win over Shakur, of course, my next goal is to unify the division and become the lineal world champion. That's something that I was dreamed about, becoming the lineal world champion of my division. Especially when boxing has so many titles flying around there, you want to become the man of your division. So hopefully, that'll be a fight against, Oscar Valdez, and hopefully I'll be the underdog then as well.
And with these lower weight classes especially, you can really see guys' skill. Like
right.
These guys that you talking about at the top of these divisions, especially yours, are excellent fighters. Technically, they have the stamina to do it. All the little elements that a bigger fighter like
right.
we're seeing tonight doesn't necessarily have to employ is crucial at that
right.
level. So just quickly, match yourself up for me against Oscar Valdez, against Shakur. Technically, how do you best these guys?
I think, honestly, if I'm being truthful, I think Shakur Stevenson is one of the best opponents out there even now. I mean, it's nothing against Oscar. I just think that my style is tailor-made for me to actually get a victory over Oscar, of course. But I feel like Oscar is the man because he beat the man, so I give him that respect. But I believe that the Stevenson fight is a much harder fight than a fight with Oscar Valdez. And even guys like Tim Bradley and Andre Ward said that after Oscar's last performance. Even though I don't take much from that also because, he's going through a lot with all the scrutiny he had to go through. But I just think that just style-wise that, Shakur Stevenson brings a lot more of problems for any fighter.
I can't wait to watch this play out. Shakur Stevenson, your first opponent coming up, and hopefully we will get an undisputed opportunity at that weight division and all weight divisions, to be fair. But I think your attitude is great, and I can't wait to see if this works.
Thank you, man.
Radio Rahim with Jamal Herring.